This is an audio check for July 29th, 2026.
Say it again. So I don't know if Richard or Nur or Jimmy.
Good talking to you too. Good morning, callers. Any callers who wish to provide public multiple item or single item comments, please raise your hand so I can list your name for the record. L. Ron Hubbard, what items will you be speaking on today?
Public comment.
Okay, thank you. Laura FM, what items will you be speaking on today? Laura?
Good morning.
morning.
General public comment and all agenda items, please.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Ann. Good, how are you? Okay. All right, I'll just sit here so I have printouts too. Just like us to sit in the jump out spots, right? Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. Okay.
Good morning, Gigi. What items would you like to speak on today?
Just general.
Thank you.
walk up there again? You want to ask me to walk back up there again?
Good morning, Merjam. Will you be speaking today?
Yes, I would like to give a public comment, general public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. How are you?
Good morning, Audit LA. Will you be speaking today?
Yes, I will. Please, regular comment and then all agenda items, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
No, Bureau of Contract Admin, sometimes they'll randomly come ask you about something like that. It's usually like a minor discrepancy that's not a big deal. But, no, it's not that often. Oh, okay. And also if that, cause that NTP was sent by those people, right? Yeah, as long as the insurance and bonds are correct, it's kind of not on us, on the NTP document. If we didn't write it. Yeah, it's like, why are you doing send me a little fee for it? Yeah. Yeah, it seems fine. They tossed it out and put their initials. It's fine.
President Kang, we are now in record mode.
All right, folks, we're going to get started. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Wednesday, July 29th, 2026. Ms. Reyes, please take roll and establish quorum.
Yes, President Kang, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, Commissioner Mitchell, and Commissioner Cardenas. We have quorum. We are
Thank you
joined
very-
today by City Attorney Virginia Choi, and I will be facilitating today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll get started with general public comment, which is an opportunity for the public to address the board on public interest items, and will be provided up to 1 minute per person, up to a cumulative total of 10 minutes for the general public comment segment of each regular meeting. Testimony shall be limited in content to subject matters which are within the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. The board may not take any action on any matters discussed during the public comment period. We do not have any in-person speakers, so we'll transition to our virtual callers.
We will begin with with L. Ron Hubbard. Go ahead.
Hi, why is Scientology not considered a real estate company? They have bought so many rent-controlled apartments. These people hide behind being a nonprofit organization and a church. They should be taxed and retroactively taxed for all the profits and properties they have acquired over the years. That is all. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Laura FM. Laura, go ahead.
Thank you. I would really, really, really encourage, please, if you guys as the board can just step back and accept the fact that Scientology is given permits solely just to recruit people and manipulate people into their manipulative gang cult. So if we could just step back and reset and say, what are the facts? What is Scientology doing? What are they not doing when when they keep getting these permits to recruit, infiltrating, and to continue infiltrating the city and keep recruiting people into their human indentured slave cult? We can step back and say, why do they need these permits? This is not why the city gives people permits or organizations or business. So please stop giving Scientology any permits whatsoever. And please start having somebody investigate why they keep getting away with their fees and all kinds of cover-ups during these permits, which they know are being called out by the public, by people who live
Thank you,
around
Laura.
the
That's
neighborhood.
time. Next, we have Gigi. Go ahead, Gigi.
Okay, so again, I'm going to ask that you guys put up some type of signage on both sides of L. Ron Hubbard Way that says that this is a public road and that the public is welcome. They do not own that road. Secondly, I'm asking that you guys, when you approve a permit, that you send it to the Hugo, to the neighborhood council, and to the LAPD in that division, because there's so much confusion. LAPD has no idea what's going on, so then they ask Scientology for documents for the permits, and then they give them something that says that the sidewalk can be closed, but we know that this is not true. So are they doctoring stuff? I don't know, but a way to solve that is for you guys to supply the permit to the LAPD so they know what's going on and what the rules and standards are for these permits that you continuously give them. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Merjam. Merjam, go ahead.
Thank you. I was really trying to think today about this issue from your perspective, because I know you have limited authority, even though you have heard the stories about people being human trafficked and used as indentured slaves. However, for almost 3 years, we have been documenting these permit violations, the intimidation of public, uh, stopping them to use the right of way on L. Ron Hubbard Way, ruining the sidewalk with their planters. There's a lot of documented evidence, and that's something tangible that you can actually do something about. Could you please move on with this topic now so we don't need to keep on coming here for the next 3 years? I yield back my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Audit LA. Go ahead, Audit.
Good morning. I sent you on July 8th the video that showed why we need to keep L. Ron Hubbard Way opened. We still don't know what happened. We still don't know the reason why that person was screaming and screaming. We don't know if it was someone trying to escape and their guards were preventing that escape. We don't know if somebody was having a psychotic break and they were mishandling that person, or we don't know if a person ran into the building and they were over manhandling and detaining them beyond what's normal, what they're allowed. We don't know. And isn't it sad that we have to worry about whether or not somebody was not allowed to escape? I mean, that's where do we hear of that? Like, they in jails, right? Like, in jails, we worry about people escaping jails. When do we have to worry about people, whether or not somebody's escaping a so-called, like a religious institution or, never. That's why we need L. Ron Hubbard Way
Thank you,
open.
Audit.
I've
That's
personally
time.
seen people dragged back.
We have one more caller with their hand raised. President Kane. Georgina, did you have public comment today?
Yes, please. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, her talking about that attempted escape reminds me that just 2.5 years ago in April, April 14th, I believe, there was a person in that building that put a sign and tape in the window saying help. The police were called, the police came, the security guard just said, "Oh, there's nothing Nothing going on, nothing at all. Bye bye. And the police left and nothing ever came of it. You closed that street. You closed the only avenue of hope for those people that are trying to escape. It needs to be opened up for parking. It needs to be accessible to the neighborhood. Right now, the police think of that as a private street. And it's at the end of two major hospitals. It would be a great benefit to put parking in there. And it would serve to keep eyes on what's going on and people trying to escape. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. President King.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close general public comment portion of today's meeting and move on to multiple agenda item public comment. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public wishing to speak on more than one agenda item during multiple agenda item comment period for up to 1 minute per item, up to a total of 3 minutes per meeting. This is the only time to speak on more than one agenda item, and please identify the items that you'll speak on when you are called. Let's go to our virtual callers.
Okay, we will begin with Laura FM. Laura, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, board. Thank you. I just mainly, again, want to speak on the minutes and neighborhood councils. If we can somehow have somebody who holds the position to be able to talk to the neighborhood councils in the different cities of Los Angeles, or the different, sections of Los Angeles' city, it would be amazing to have them see what they feel like when we're calling in about these sheets, the L. Ron Hubbard streets being shut down, and then you guys not putting it on the actual agenda items as an option. We've been asking for so long. I feel like you guys are being a little bit like not fair, even though Scientology has to have it's fair shit and whatever. It doesn't seem fair if you're not being clear and transparent to the neighborhood councils and to the people around these neighborhoods that have positions that would care about this situation. So again, for the minutes, if you guys are not going to put it on the minutes, or you feel like it's not something you guys can do, or you're busy fucking fixing the street holes of the city, which I also understand that's a major issue. And I know that you guys, the Board of Public Works itself is doing so much, but this we've been asking for 3 years, and it's something that can easily be done. Please reflect on the minutes that there are people calling in asking to revoke Scientology's permits, stop giving them permits. People calling in talking about the bullying that happens around L. Ron Hubbard Way from the security guards themselves. All this needs to be reflected somewhere. It's a big issue, and it's become more and more of an issue the more they get exposed. So whether your guys' job or not, at least notify the neighborhood council so that in their own areas, the people who do want Scientology's shit to be exposed and for them to stop being corrupt, they can actually go out of their way to do something. Since you guys are extremely busy, we get that, but no more. You guys are giving Scientology such a big muscle by not notifying the neighborhood councils and by not reflecting it on the minutes so that we can then take further action to the
That's
city.
time,
We can
Laura.
show the board. Thank you.
Next, we have Audit LA. Audit, go ahead.
Good morning again. Yes, I want to start with the sidewalk bids. We absolutely need sidewalks. What the city, I believe, is like 400 square miles. That's a lot of sidewalks. And I don't know. I don't think I could think of like a long stretch where the sidewalks are good. And especially in in a chair, I can't tell you how much damage it does to my chairs. But it's a $3 million bid. And then we have I'm going to combine these two. The next one, the convention center, which we're hoping we're spending tens of millions of dollars on, and this city is not. I don't know. If we can't get the sidewalks fixed, the sidewalks are a mess. Why? Then we're going to put all this money towards building stuff that we hope will attract somebody down the road to have convention centers here. It's ridiculous. But as far as the sidewalk bids, I hope that you will make sure that whoever is bidding, that it's sadly to say in 2026, we have to make sure there's no human trafficking going on, labor trafficking, because it happens. We've seen it. I would have, 3 years ago, I would have not believed that that's happening, but it is happening right in your own neighborhoods, right under our nose, right here at Blue Building. And so make sure of that, please. And also, I'm asking if you have this money going around to fix sidewalks, to fix the sidewalk on Fountain between L. Ron Hubbard Way and Catalina. I will go down there. I could easily go down there before they dumped like I think what they said 100,000 gallons of water like for numerous days continuously, and put all these extensive, very heavy planters at the same time. So you have the water and the heavy planter. Now the sidewalk is so broken up, it looks like an earthquake hit, and there's no way I can even get down it. And so that's a form of prior restraint, okay? Because they are not fixing it because they don't want me going down that street in a chair. They know I can't do it, and they're required to fix it. And you guys are standing by and allowing that to happen. And I consider it prior restraint. They're doing everything they can to keep anyone who is keeping an eye on things because they don't want to see somebody, they don't want anyone seeing the escaping. That's why they are buying up all, like the first caller said, they're buying up all these properties on the streets because they want it closed. They want the city to think it's closed. You guys have to keep that street open. It'd be as simple as sending President Canning today. You could send an email saying, no more permits until this stuff's been adjudicated. Like the non-permit. They still had a festival without a permit. You could say no more until this is all adjudicated. We need to sort this out. That one letter from you could do that. As far as the neighborhood councils, it's part of the requirements that the neighborhood
Thank you,
council be
Audit. That's
notified.
time. We have one more caller. Georgina, do you have multiple item comment today?
Yes, I do. And minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with the minutes. The minutes aren't reflecting these concerns, these call-ins, and the people that are taking the time out of their day to go down there in person week after week, and none of it's being reflected on the minutes. I've been requesting for nearly a year now that you update the YouTube channels titles, because every title has the exact same name, makes it virtually impossible to look anything up. You need to have that rectified. If you're not going to include these comments in the minutes, you need to at least have them accessible to the people. For the neighborhood councils, they aren't getting these permits. The Scientology is not getting these permits to the city in time for the city to adequately inform the neighborhood councils, and that is greatly remiss, because then we could have them stick to the confines of the permit if they're actually given a heads up and can look into things, make sure the local cops know that it's not a private street, that it's a public street. As for the sidewalks, I've personally witnessed Audit LA trying to go down that broken sidewalk on Fountain, and she had to go into the grass. Well, when they're constantly watering their grass, when she went into the grass, she got stuck. What is someone like her supposed to do? And they can't even go down the street. It needs to be fixed. I saw they had that water running for 48 hours and damaged those sidewalks. They were never fined for the water spillage, although myself and several people called to complain to the city, and they never have paid for the repairs of these sidewalks. It needs to be addressed. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you. That concludes multiple item.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close multiple item public comment portion of today's meeting and move forward with the approval of minutes for Wednesday, July 15, 2026, and Thursday, July 16, 2026. I'll move. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you. And we will do a roll call for the minutes. President Kang? Vice President Chavez? Aye. President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell? Aye. Commissioner Enes Cardenas? Thank you. All ayes, and the minutes are approved.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our agenda item number 1, which is on consent. I'll move. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell? Commissioner Cardenas?
Aye.
All ayes. This item is moved and approved forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 2, Los Angeles Convention Center expansion update from the Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Richard Louis. I am a Deputy City Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering, and we are here today to present an update. Joined with me today is Jennifer Halstad, the project executive for the project, as well as representatives from the Bureau of Contract Administration, who will help to co-present this update on the project. I'll let BCA introduce themselves when they come up to present. Let me begin with a very short background on the project. This project is called the LA Convention Center Modernization and Expansion Project, which includes scope to expand the convention center, modernize elements of the existing facility, and construct a new digital signage program. The contract or project agreement between the city and the developer APCLA was executed on September of 2025 and utilizes a delivery method similar to design build. The project will complete a majority of the physical construction before the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. During the 2028 Games, the project will pause. The developer will demobilize and make sure the convention center is camera ready and ready for the Games. And then after the Games, the developer will remobilize and complete the project. The report before you is an update on the status of the project. Similar to the outline of previous updates, it's a similar cadence, and we start out with some interesting photos. We wanted to highlight some of the interesting work that is being done on this project. So if you can see on the screen here and in your slide number 3, this is a picture of a crane that was used to install some of the air handling units, AHUs. And this crane had a very large boom, a boom of over 500 feet. This was necessary so that we could reach into some of the air handling units in the existing facility without having to have a helicopter come to take out the old AHUs and install a new AHU. So that was successful. We were able to install the first, remove and then install the first 9 air handling units within the existing West Hall. There will be additional air handling units to come, but that was a very interesting piece of equipment that was used on the project. The next slide shows a photo of the walls of the new Central Utility Plant, or CUP, we call it the CUP for short. This central utility plant houses much of the core equipment that's used to provide centralized HVAC system. And the existing CUP will be replaced by this new CUP, which will help provide the heating and cooling for the entire campus. So as you can see, we've installed already the foundations. You obviously cannot see that because it's underground, but now some of those walls are being erected. And I believe in the next couple weeks, some of the structural steel actually will come forward on this portion of the project, which also is a major milestone for the project. Our third and last photo shows a picture from the 2026 Anime Expo, which was held at the Convention Center from July 2nd to July 5th of this year. This photo highlights how the Convention Center, with the support and coordination of the entire project team, has been successful in continuing to be an active convention center while the construction of the expansion work happens concurrently. I was informed that over the 4 days of the convention, over 400,000 plus attendees attended, so over 100,000 people per day. You had over 100,000 people in the convention center per day while an active construction site is going on. And many of the reports I've heard, actually all the reports I've heard says they don't even realize construction is ongoing in the convention center. So a great accomplishment for the developer contractor, for CTD and LACC who operates the convention, as well as the partners within the city who help manage this project. This report was put together as of the date ending 7/3, but last week there was an announcement that the mayor made that I also wanted to mention. We understand that the mayor made this announcement that 13 new major organizations have chosen to use the convention center as their annual place for conferences. And that's directly because of the work that is being done to expand the convention center. These 13 major organizations will bring 103,000 people to Los Angeles and will have about a 242 million impact on the economics of Los Angeles. So again, some really great positive things happening with the project. I want to turn your attention to slide 6, which is the executive dashboard. In terms of the project, we are overall on track on schedules, on spending. We are on a watch condition on schedule, and overall, the project is on track. In terms of the schedule, the project experienced a conflict with a private utility line. That conflict with the private utility line has now been resolved, but because of the conflict, there was some delays. The developer has submitted a schedule update showing that delay in the schedule, and that delay is impacting meeting the Olympics readiness deadline. But that schedule is still in the process of being reviewed and analyzed. Additionally, the Bureau of Engineering has engaged and requested the developer to provide details on how they plan to mitigate this delay. In construction, this is typical. You will encounter something that is unforeseen, you'll get a little bit behind, you come up with a plan, you figure out how to get back on track, and that's exactly what the developer is doing. The developer has provided some preliminary ideas on how to mitigate these delays and is vetting those ideas to ensure they are feasible and achievable. But some examples include providing additional days work on foundation work, or potentially being able to operate 2 sequences of steel erection at the same time instead of doing them one after another. Based on these preliminary mitigation strategies, the project appears like we will be able to mitigate this delay, but further analysis and again, that vetting of these ideas needs to happen. But it does look like the project will be able to be brought back on time in the upcoming months. On the right-hand side of the dashboard, we discuss a little bit about the budget, and the project continues to remain on track on the budget and on track with the change orders and allowances. So we are in a good place in terms of budget. Moving forward, we also provide a summary of relief event notices and relief event claims. This process is detailed out in the project agreement that these notices have to be received when a potential change to the project is encountered, and within a certain amount of days, if the developer does believe that the city owes either some time or money for these conditions, those notices convert to claims. So on the summary, we show that 20 relief event notices have been received. Out of the 20 notices, 4 are still open, 7 have been closed because the potential impact that could have happened was not actually realized. So we were able to close 7 of the 20, and 9 of the notices have been opened up as claims. Within those 9 claims, 1 has been rejected and 8 remain open, and we continue to work on those to resolve those on the project. In the next slide, we give you a summary of the status of payments. The project has been able to process the payments up to April of 2026, and as of the date of this report, the May 2026 invoice is under review. With that, I want to bring up the Bureau of Contract Administration to provide some information on project labor agreement and business inclusion program targets.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ian Monte, representing the Bureau of Contract Administration's Office of Contract Compliance, and I'm going to provide a update on the project labor agreement's targeted hiring requirements for this project. For those that are unaware, the Department of Public Works project labor agreement, which covers this project, has 3 targeted hiring requirements. At least 30% of all of the project hours must be performed by a local resident. And within that, at least 50% or half of all of the apprentice hours must be performed by a local resident in a bona fide apprenticeship program. And 10% or at least 10% of all of the work hours must be performed by a local resident with barriers to employment that is identified as a transitional worker. As of this reporting period, the project has a total of 280,725 work hours, of which 100,095 hours, or 36%, were performed by local workers. So that again is above the local hire requirement. Additionally, 44,501 hours were performed by apprentices, of which 19,834 hours, or 45%, were performed by local apprentices. So again, that is below the mark, but again, I believe it was higher than last month, so progress. Finally, 22,400 hours of the total amount were performed by transitional workers, otherwise 8% of the total hours. Again, a little bit under the mark, but it is steady with last month's report. Giving additional context to the workforce on the project, because this is important too. As of this reporting period, there are 66 verified contractors performing work on the project, and those 66 contractors have performed at 280,725 construction work hours. And those contractors have also submitted 1,252 certified payrolls. Those 66 contractors have also employed 1,105 workers, which includes 320 local workers, or 29% of the project's total workforce. Within that same 1,100 plus total worker numbers, there are 171 apprentices, of which 64 are local, and that represents 37% of the apprentice workforce on this project. Staying with the apprentices, there are 46 first period apprentices on this project, and half of them are local. Finally, the 66 contractors have employed 77 transitional workers, or 7% of the project's workforce.
Good morning, Commissioners. Patricia Fuentes with the Bureau of Contract Administration. I'll be reporting the Business Inclusion Program Pledge Subcontractor Participation progress. I just want to note that the percentages established in the anticipated amount are the dollar amounts listed for each minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, small business enterprise, emerging business enterprise, and or disabled veteran business enterprise. These were calculated according to APCLA's award dollar amount minus approved contingencies and inclusive of the developer fee, city entitlement obligation, and ENA payment. So starting with the minority business enterprises, or MBE, against an anticipated 18% or 358.1 million participation or anticipated participation, there is a current pledge of 13.7 million or 0.69%, with a $2.2 million achieved percent and 0.11% achieved. For the Women Business Enterprise, or WBE, the anticipated goal is 4%, and which is 79.6 million, and the current pledge stands at 9.3 million, which is 0.47%, with a $1.8 million amount achieved, or 0.09%. For the small business enterprise, while the anticipated goal is 25%, or 497.4 million, the pledged percentage is 45.5 million, which is 2.29%, and the achieved amount is 9.9 million, and which is 0.5% achieved. For the local business enterprise, or LBE, this category shows the strongest performance with $477.6 million pledged, or 24.01%, surpassing the 20% anticipated amount. And the achieved dollar amount is 92.6 million, which is 4.7% of the contract amount. The emerging business enterprise, numbers for the anticipated with the anticipated percentage of 3% or 59.7 million. We see that the that they pledged, or that PWJV pledged 9.3 million, or 0.47 percent, with a $440,000 dollar amount achieved. It is important to note that the verified amount figures, which is reflected which reflects the approval by the Bureau of Contract Administration Special Research and Investigation Section. That it's important that to note that the verified amounts are reflect what is approved by our Special Investigations section. And then, as far as achieved, we're anticipating a larger number when the Schedule A's are submitted, which is basically the utilization forms that PWJV submits every month. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Halstead, the project executive on behalf of the city. And I'm giving you a little bit of update, like I usually do, on some key milestones that have happened and that are upcoming. Probably the most noticeable thing that most people have seen on the South Hall is if you're driving on the 110 and you look back at that west side of the South Hall, you'll see a bunch of exposed structural steel. So that is where the new building comes into that area that's been exposed with the structural steel. So they've taken down the exterior skin, part of the structural steel, and they'll continue to basically disassemble the building in that corner of the building, as well as they put up a temporary waterproof wall to protect the convention center where they have removed the exterior skin. The other thing in the general vicinity is finishing up the auger cast piles. There were close to 700 of them. There's less than 90 left to go. Those are deep, large piles, so that's a good thing to get done. And they're going to be working heavily on the more micropile installation next. In the West Hall and the concourse, the primary activities have been around getting the temporary generator up and running because they need to decommission the generator in the existing convention center and get ready for the new generator. And there's a time when a temporary generator is needed, so they're working on that. I believe we actually got that up and running in the last week or so, which is a big milestone. They're also prepping for that new generator room that I was just referring to, and the fire control center. They need to relocate the fire control center from the old building into the new building in preparation for one unified control center. On the site, again, this month, a lot of underground utility work. Not very exciting, not a lot to see from the street, but very, very key to get done early. First of all, it takes up real estate every time you dig a hole, and then you can't put cranes and other things up. So they've done a really good job coordinating a lot of underground utilities. DWP has been out working a lot on both water and power. So that has been a lot of the primary focus, with a little bit more water this month. On the central utility plant and the offsite improvements around the central utility plant, they are backfilling and grading where the grade is lower than the final grade of the central utility plant, again in preparation for a crane so that they can do steel erection, which is the next big activity on that site. And offsite improvements this month have been mostly around circuit work in Figueroa and north of Figueroa, so circuits 1 through 3. And they also got a Vault 2 lid installation completed, which was another big key project milestone. And finally, at the network station, they're preparing for the slab on grade pour there, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. They've installed the grounding for that station and passed the initial grounding and resistance test. And they're on schedule for DWP work to begin there with a handover the end of August. They're doing some procurement of some long lead equipment that has to do with the generator and just generally continuing getting that basic structure ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer and BCA, for those updates. Last slide on this monthly update provides information on key risk topics, and we have reported on these key risk topics in past meetings. I did want to give you an update, a positive update on a couple of these risk topics. On the Pico Passage topic, I'm happy to report that APCLA, city leadership, and project stakeholders have been able to align on a path forward on resolving the outstanding approval concerns. Because of this alignment, and then tied to the key risk topics of permitting, because of this alignment, we were able to obtain the approval of a key permit, the permit for the main expansion building permit, which was critical to allow for the continued construction activities, meaning the next major milestone of that structural steel, to continue to move forward and keep our project on track. So this is great news and a significant milestone for the team, for the city, the developer, the design build contractor, and the project. So that's great. In terms of the other key risk topics, the work to mitigate these risks continues and is being actively managed. With that, that concludes our report, and we are ready for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for the detailed presentation. Commissioners, questions or comments? We'll start with Commissioner Cardenas.
Oh, thank you for that. I didn't see it on here. What's the status on our change orders? How many change orders do we have? And what's the percentage of the project cost, or how much of the allowance have we used up so far with change orders, budget-wise?
We have two budgets, one budget for change orders and one budget for allowance orders. For our change orders, we have not had to issue any change orders to date. We do believe there are some potential change orders that will be executed in the upcoming month or two, but so far we haven't had to execute any change orders to date. In terms of the allowance orders, we have issued allowance orders up to $37 million. The budget for the allowance orders was $345 million. What is unique about this project is that these allowance orders are for scope that is required for this project. So it should be anticipated that we should actually utilize a significant portion of that allowance order budget. But with that said, we do not anticipate at this time that we are going over those allowance orders budget overall. But in terms of what we have executed, we are at $37 million of the $345 million.
Well, zero change orders is a pretty good number to keep. Good luck with that.
Yes.
If you can include that in the monthly reports, that'd be appreciated.
No problem. If you do want to look, slide 6 does provide some of that information, but I will ensure to highlight that in the oral report next month.
Thank you. Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you for your report, Richard, Ian. And question, with regard to the delay on the private utility relocation, what impact is that having on the overall delay?
Overall, it has had delay on the Olympics readiness by several weeks. The challenge is that we have received that schedule and we're still in the process of reviewing it. Because we haven't finished that process of reviewing it, we can't explain the exact amount that it is impacting, but it has had several weeks preliminary information impact on Olympics readiness. However, with these mitigation measures I've described, going to installing foundations 6 out of 7 days of the week, looking at having 2 crews erecting steel instead of 1 crew erecting steel, resequencing some of their work, We believe that the contractor has a plan to be able to recover that schedule. It will take time. The foundation work is happening right now. The structural steel work will begin within the next, some of it will begin in the next 2 weeks for the central utility plant. The larger steel erection for the main building will happen within the next 2 months, but we will not necessarily see those benefits of having 2 crews on steel until that work actually begins. So what I'm trying to say is there is a plan to recover. We may not see the results and benefits of those plans until we come to that construction activity. But with these mitigation plans, it looks like the contractor is going to be able to bring us back to being on schedule for the Olympics readiness.
So to mitigate the delay, are you saying we're going to work 7 days a week instead of 6?
We're
And
going
then
to work
have 2 teams?
6 days a week instead of 5 on foundations. We
Oh,
were
so we're on 5, not 6.
at 5. We've increased to 6.
Okay. So we started, I know at some point in time we talked about six days a week. So we're at 5, the basic 5, and then we may go to 6 in order to catch up, so to speak, with regard to this delay and any others.
Correct. And it is dependent on the activity that is happening. You want to go on 6 days a week for those activities that are on the critical path, but some activities may not necessarily be on the critical path, and going to 6 days a week doesn't help us. So it's just on those activities that are on the critical path on the foundations. So those auger cast piles we talked about that are 80 to 90 feet into the ground, those foundations need to be installed in order for us to get to our steel. And so that's why it's on the critical path. It has to be done as quickly as possible. Some of the other work, let's say there was some work maybe down the block. It doesn't impact our critical path of getting foundations and then starting structural steel. So it doesn't help that activity to go to 6 days a week. So it's only those activities, and right now it's the foundation work that has moved to 6 days a week.
Okay, so when you say several weeks, can you quantify what that several week delay is at this point?
We are still analyzing that. We can bring further updates in the next monthly report. Again, because they're trying to vet these mitigation measures and we're reviewing the schedule, we don't have that specific detail.
Can you provide that information to the board before next month's report, please?
Yes.
Ian, if I can address the project labor agreement progress on hiring, targeted hiring. It looks like with regard to transitional workers, we are able to at least get to 12% in April of 2026, but now we're at 9%. Is it based upon whatever work was taking place in April 2026? Our goal being 10%?
So that's correct. It's essentially based on the
I
contract.
can't hear you. Can you talk into the mic, please?
Thought I was, excuse me.
Don't lean over. You can pull it up to your lips if you need to. That's how we hear.
I'm not tall, so I'm just used to being low, but thank you. So your question, that is correct. It's essentially based on the workforce that's currently on the project and contractors that were performing and maybe not gone from the project completely, but their current scope of work has been performed until they're brought back to do some additional construction. So that's where you would see these monthly kind of alterations where sometimes it's high, sometimes it's a little bit lower.
Okay, and then with regard to, so it looks like it was 12% back in April, which is 2% greater than what our goal is. But it looks like you think that 9%, we're on a trajectory toward meeting that goal in future months?
I feel like we are, because again, the month is what happened that month. It wasn't where the project was as of that month. So in April, because again, certified payrolls is a very interesting game where we don't always get them instantaneously. There's between a 10 to 14 day delay, which is acceptable. And we constantly work with the contractors to make sure that they're submitting certified payrolls because, again, that's a state requirement. As they come in, we continue to track them, and we see sometimes just a touch later that, hey, this month was higher than what we originally thought it was going to be. But the point of all that is one, transitional has kept a steady increase. At one point on this project, transitional was at 5%. And while it's not at 10, it has steadily climbed to 8. I know that there's going to be an influx of workers on this project within the next 6 weeks. And I anticipate that we're going to see additional rises in transitional workers and the hours they perform, because I know that PWJV and APCLA have made it a point to have transitional workers on this project. So I do believe that we will see 10% hit. I don't want to say exactly when, but I do believe that this project will hit 10%.
Okay, and also with regard to local apprentice, it looks like we hit 50% in March 2026, with June being 46%. The goal is 50%. Do you believe similarly with regard to local apprentice
I do.
percentages that we're on track to get to our goal
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt
more
you.
consistently?
I do believe that local apprentice will be met as well. And the reason that I'm hopeful for local apprentice being met is we've had a lot of, and when I say we, BCA has had a lot of internal conversations with both APCLA and PWJV individually. And we have had these conversations about particular contractors that we believe could ultimately help this project. I won't call out any names of those contractors, but one in particular did not have a lot of apprentice hours at all. Well, they did have a lot of overall hours. And so having the conversation to say, hey, we see that there is a reduction in hours here and there should be more, that particular contractor not only has increased their apprentice hours, they've increased their local apprentice hours. So over the course of time, that is going to help. Again, because the project has so many hours already, this is not going to be a 1 week, 2 week turnaround where if they had everyone that was local on the project, it's not going to raise the numbers to compliance. But again, if there's a sustained effort to hire and keep working these local individuals, this project will be in compliance from a PLA perspective.
Okay, I also had some questions with regard to the business inclusion program, Linda.
Good morning. Good morning,
Okay.
Commissioner. Patricia Reyes.
I'm a little concerned about several categories, but we'll start with the lowest. The disabled veteran business enterprise is at 71,000, which is 0%. The goal or pledged amount was 7 million. What are we going to do, or how are we going to get to something closer to the pledged amount in this category?
Commissioner Mitchell, BCA is currently working with APCLA.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
BCA is currently working with APCLA and PWJV to get those numbers up. Actually, these numbers are a little older. These were from earlier last month. But the current numbers have improved for the disabled veteran business enterprise. Maybe not as much as, let's say the local business enterprise percentages, but there is a steady improvement with the disabled veteran business enterprise, and it will be reflected in next month's report. As far as achieved, the project is still new. It's still early in the construction process, but but the pledged. So these the disabled veteran business enterprises or all the other subcontractors, the pledged amounts will always be a lot smaller than the achieved, because the achieved is the utilization, or what is utilized so far in the project, or which firms were utilized so far in the project. So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh.
Were you done?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Similarly, with regard to emergency business enterprises at less than 0.02% of a percentage, with 440 The pledged amount is 9.3 million for that category. We're at 440,000. What are we going to do and what's our plan to increase that percentage?
So these emerging business enterprises, there are some that haven't started work on the project yet because it's still early. So and that goes for the other categories.
So that's contingent upon the work that's being done at the time we're making these reports, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. With regard to minority business enterprise, we're at 2.2 million. The pledged amount's 13.7. Believe that's on track to get to our 0.69%.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
On the business type for MBE,
Mm-hmm.
are we on track to get to our 0.69 based upon the information provided as of now?
I'm feeling hopeful. We've been meeting with, or BCA has been meeting with PWJV to improve those numbers and not just pledged, but also achieved and verified.
And how is BCA assisting the contractor to improve these numbers?
Well, we meet either sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes weekly, in order to pour through the submissions, such as the Schedule A's and Schedule B's, and we have been working with them to identify what could be certified, or which firms could be certified as MBEs, and then also WBEs, and so on and so forth.
And similarly, with regard to WBE and SBE, the WBE is at 1.8, the pledged amount is 9.3. What are we doing to increase that or get to that goal? Is that also contingent upon the type of work that's being currently being done?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And what about SBE?
Same.
Same thing?
Yes.
Okay, so as we go, and basically what you're saying is as we go through the project, depending on what stage we are at, we expect that the achieved amounts will at least equal eventually the pledged amount, correct?
That's expected. That's what we expect, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank
Vice
you.
President Chavez.
Thank you, President King. Well, I see a lot of good news here, and I see the systems are working as expected. I know that the contract was set up in a certain way so that we get information about, any hiccups as early as possible so that it can be addressed, it can be validated. We have time to do that as opposed to the alternative. And so I see that working, and we're getting what we expected out of the contract in that. So that's great to see. I'm also really excited to hear about Friday's issuance of the main building permit for Pico Hall. That is a huge milestone that we've reached. Thus far, there's been a lot of work on this site since the fall, mostly demo work and grading and shoring and all the foundation permit work that has happened. But this is the first time that we're going to be allowing for the beginning of stuff to go on top.
Right,
and building upward as opposed to all the, I know that there's still work happening, foundational work, but it's really exciting to see that this project is going to stop coming down and start growing up,
Yes.
as to put it. And I think really it's going to be exciting to see that structural steel going over Pico Boulevard. That's going to be really, really exciting. And the most visible sign yet that we're doing it. We are delivering on our commitment to get this project ahead of the 28 games. And I think, securing a main building permit on a project of this complexity really is due to the tireless work being done by all the teams. And so kudos for all of the work, months of intense work, really, and problem solving and coordination. Really kudos to everyone on the project team for that. The second thing is related to that, the fact that during this time there was a record set. Can we send this in to the Guinness Book of World Records of attendance of the Anime Expo? You know, a lot of fans of Anime Expo showed up at the convention center over a 4-day period, breaking records. That center was bursting at the seams, all while full-scale construction was going on. You know, I think the fact that the center didn't just stay open, but that it hosted one of the largest events in its history is nothing short of remarkable. So the fact that that's a great test case to show that, you know, we can certainly successfully have a world-class venue and be operating for major events already. So and so when we don't have construction going on, it'll seem like a cakewalk when the games come. So really great to see that. I just wanted to express my gratitude to all the tireless efforts, like I said, in coordination of the hundreds of people who have been working on this. And I think there's way too many people to think individually, but we're gonna keep going and looking forward to seeing the next month's report with, you know, more updates on, you know, where we are with the stage of construction, you know, additional analyses on recovery plans, and if there's any updates on the list of items that are going to be, if there's any change in terms of what the items are going to be, what's going to be done before the pause in the games and afterward. I don't know if any, you know, I know that the schedule continues to evolve, so if any of those changes occur, please include them in the next report. And that's all I had.
Thank you very much. Wanted to echo some of the big successes. I do have one question related to the relief events and the claims.
Yes.
So I know there are 20 notices and 9 claims, and 8 are still open.
Correct.
Do any of the open claims pose any financial risk to the city at the moment?
Yes, there are some claims that we are reviewing and are ongoing, and they do pose financial risk to the city. As we receive these claims, the city will review. Some of them, like the one that has been rejected, we do not agree with and we have rejected, but some of them may have merit. And the potential impact varies. There are some relatively smaller ones that we agree. As of the date of this report, we hadn't submitted our response, but I believe as of today, we actually did agree to one of those claims. Again, it was under $1 million. It was relatively smaller compared to some of the other claims that could have potential larger risk. But we are continuing to review those and can bring you updates as we have them.
Okay. And then, and our staff kind of, I know you mentioned you're evaluating each one by case, but are you seeing any trends in these claims that we could potentially augment and make changes within to improve?
No, many of these claims, I think, are typical. Some of them relate to some of the foundation work and experiencing, for example, a utility that was in the way or a differing site condition. That's typical for construction. And as we're hopefully finishing up the foundation work in the upcoming months and we get out of the ground, we won't have those type of claims anymore. So I think it's just a part of the typical construction process of when you're doing underground work, you may hit some unforeseen conditions. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Reyes, I believe that clears our desk for today.
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. Our next Board of Public Works meeting will be on Friday, July 31st, 2026. The meeting is now adjourned at 11:01 a.m.
Yes, if you have any notes, you can also send me. It's hard to take the notes while you're presenting. All right, thank you, Jeannie. Is this your stuff? You good? Yeah, it's hard for me to read. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just boots and vests. Okay. It's online thing. Oh, it's wow. In that case, send it to me so I can start working on it.